How's it going, everyone? My name is Nick. I am the creator and lead designer of a currently unreleased sci-fi meets fantasy TTRPG called Antique Worlds. This is a GM's retrospective where I break down my first campaign I ever ran as a GM and just point out the stupid, dumb things that I did that I shouldn't have done, what I did wrong, and how I can improve for them. So, this is session two. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So session one ended with them arriving to where Barsana should be and it no longer being there because a mudslide wiped it away. They get to the point where they are now traveling to Lancaster, but it's close. So basically, within the first 5 minutes of the session, they're arriving. It's still there. The rain has stopped. They're trudging through this thick, nasty mud, and they reach the city and they see a familiar face, and that face is the sheriff Heston. He basically, because of everything that happened, he says, "Don't even worry about the water. You can't really, plan for a mudslide or rain when it hasn't rained in 100 years. So we're all good there." And then he tells them that he's going to help them find, you know, where this girl River's parents are, so they don't have to carry a baby around for the rest of the campaign. And then he tells them that in Pike territory at their capital city of Awa, Lady Pike has requested a meeting with them. They all agree to this meeting. So Heston says he's going to take them there, that they need to go and get whatever supplies they need to get ready for traveling to, Pike territory. So they go to the town shop, and it's a little shop that's currently being ran by a teenage boy named Christian. And for whatever reason, the party really liked Christian. I guess he was just like a very awkward teenage boy, but he wasn't anything special, or he's not like the NPC you would brag about. But for whatever reason, they got along with him. They liked him. There was a lot of banter back and forth. It was a really nice little role play moment because everyone got to be funny or be snarky or witty. So it was just nice to see where everyone can kind of like show off their how funny they are and show off their role play chops. It was a very nice little, you know, 25, 35 minute role play of them just buying stuff. Then there of course there was the classic like I want to roll to see if I can try and steal this and I believe it was Charlie who did that. She failed her roll. She was caught. She was reprimanded by Christian and even the rest of the party reprimanded her. So even though it's a completely custom setting, we're still getting those classic TTRPG cliches of trying to rob the shopkeep of trying to rob the shopkeeper. But so they get what they need, and then they meet back up with Heston, and Heston has this transport ready to go. It's called a dragonfly. It's called a dragonfly because guess what? It looks like a dragonfly, but it's a basically like a speeder from Star Wars where it doesn't fly, but it just hovers above the ground. So they get in that, and it's basically gonna take what would be like a 2 or 3 week journey by foot and turn into like a day or two by dragonfly. So as they're basically getting out of the desert, the DMZ, and going into Pike territory, they are attacked by a android called the Machine and then a man named Florence. And basically, they just end up being bandits. I had designed them so that if they survived this encounter, they would be reoccurring villains. And then also maybe like since Machine is an android and then Warden's an android, maybe I was gonna be able to use Machine as a foil to Warden or like a mirror to Warden, something like that. I didn't have anything planned because I was gonna let nature take its course. If the party killed them, great. If they didn't, great. So either way, the party did really well in this battle. It was their first real battle where like there were actual stakes. I managed to get Carly and Tara pretty low, but they were never really in danger of actually dying. And one other thing, so battle starts with there's like a trap that was laid for the dragonfly, and it something blows up in front of them, and it throws them all from the dragonfly. And like Heston is party doesn't know if he's dead or knocked out, but Heston's completely out of the fight, and they group back up together and they fight off and end up they well so actually here's the thing Ox goes crazy this battle, and this is the first insight into who he was as this powerhouse. That when he crits, the dude does so much damage because like the machine was like this tanky, strong character, and he was just being melted by every attack that Ox had. And then between Ox and Tama, they were just two very hard hitting characters, and they made short work. Ox ends up doing this crazy crit and just blows the machine up and knocks him out dead as a doornail. And then Florence tries to run away because his partner's dead, but they catch him easily, and then he ends up dead as well. But he didn't. There was no information to be given. This was a battle, a combat encounter that was just meant to let them flex their muscles and then possibly set up something for the future. But it was basically ended up just them flexing their muscles. So they eventually make it to the capital of the Pike territory, the city named Awa, Awah, and Heston takes them to where they could talk to Lady Pike. He introduces them to Lady Pike. Lady Pike is basically this, for lack of a better word, she's like a warrior princess, in not the fact that she's royalty, but more in the fact that she was raised from birth to be a warrior, but also a leader. So think kind of like Wonder Woman. She doesn't look like Wonder Woman. She's tall, yes, but she's long blonde hair that's like intricately braided, very Viking themed. She wears this large wolf pelt as a coat. It's of a three-headed wolf. Like it's in the lore, it's something that's very, very rare, but very, very powerful to run across. And because of that, Tara instantly takes a dislike to her. She's like, basically, you killed nature for nothing, and now you're wearing it as a trophy. So Tara, off the cuff, did not like her. The whole point of them meeting Lady Pike is because she wants them to work with her to save the planet. She knows she's fighting a war that has no future if the planet dies. So she wants to save the planet. That way, what she's doing isn't in vain. The party agrees. So she tells them, hey, you know, a good place to start would be in Hyperion. Hyperion is the capital city of the Maotan Empire, and it's also where Sloane is from. She says they have libraries there full of vast knowledge. She has an associate named Amicia who has the location of a hidden library that's full of like esoteric knowledge. She's going to have Amicia take them to where this library is located. That way they can try and find any information that can help them start to solve the problem and fix the fracture. The party agrees, and she tells them, "Hey, all right, go into the city and buy what you need to buy, and then meet Amicia at the train tracks. There's like an ancient railroad system that runs out of Awa, and it would take them pretty deep into Mayotan territory. It won't take them all the way to Hyperion, but it will take them pretty far and will help with their journey. So they say, cool beans, we're going to do that. So, something with Warden. Because the Warden androids were built to protect specific members of the Kalsuvian royal family, they have this ability to where when they're in proximity of any kind of DNA of the royal they're assigned to protect, like an alarm goes off. So when Warden comes into the room where Lady Pike is, his alarm goes off and he's about to go into battle mode because something is signifying that some sort of DNA that belongs to Nyx is there and it's registering. What it turns out to be is there is this ledger, a handwritten ledger on Lady Pike's desk that was the ramblings and notes of a slaver. So actually, it was a prop I actually made. It was this little book that had hundreds and hundreds of names handwritten in it, and then it also had at the very end had like the crazy ramblings of this slaver where he's basically losing his mind and slowly going crazy and he's talking about how his body's changing and he's getting sicker and sicker and there's nothing he can do and that there's something outside of his home stalking him and driving him insane. This was to heavily imply that it was the same sickness that they ran across in session one, that this man was having it. And then who that figure was, that comes out later. So, but on this little book, on this ledger, it has blood of Nyx. So that's what Warden was keying on, was this dried blood of the woman that he was supposed to protect. Lady Pike reveals to them that this was recovered from Calsuvia. There is a huge slave trade in Calsuvia, and if it's possible that Nyx was sold into slavery through this, whoever that person was. And then kind of the other players each kind of glanced and looked through the book. When Ox was looking through it, he found the name Tenorok as one of the slaves that was sold. And Tenorok is actually the name of his missing brother. So now there's two player characters that have ties to the people that are missing in their backstory, and it could have more there could be more information in Calsuvia about where they could find their missing loved ones. So the party goes to leave, and then Lady Pike asks to talk to Sloane privately. Sloane agrees, but then for some reason, both Charlie and Tara also stay with Sloane. Sloane's not happy about it, but Lady Pike allows it. And basically, Lady Pike is like, hey, Sloane, you and me, we've been talking. If you really want to help the rebellion, I'm going to give you this vial of extremely potent poison. And if you are in a situation where you can use this on Davar, the High Lord of Mayada, go ahead and do it, because him dying would be really good for everyone in the whole world. So Sloane takes the poison. Charlie doesn't really have much of a reaction to the situation, and Tara is just further disgusted with who Lady Pike is, basically, because she's like, I'm not a murderer. Like, this is stupid, kind of thing. So then they leave as well. I probably in that encounter, yes, things were learned. There is a clue to Nyx's possible location. There's a clue to um, Tenorok's possible location. They know exactly where to go to progress the main story, which is they have to go to the train tracks and then they get to Hyperion. And then Sloane has the side quest of using the poison on Jafar. I feel like that went a lot smoother than session one, but I still could have given more information. Granted, now the players, they didn't have a lot of questions. It wasn't like I was avoiding giving information, but something I've kind of learned now doing another full campaign and, well, another campaign, and then the multiple other mini campaigns and multiple one shots, is that give information wherever you can. And campaign one, that is something I struggled big time with. I was holding all my cards close to my chest, and I could have done a lot better by just giving them information. It doesn't have to be information that solves every problem for them, but just giving them more information is better in the long run than making them work for it, or, holding it for this reveal that may never come, or hoping that your players figure it out by themselves. Like, just give information. It's so much better for the quality of life of your campaign if you give information more than you withhold it. So before they go to the train track, they want to go into the city and basically buy any supplies they need. So they're in the city, and this is where they come across one of the first people that they've seen that's been truly affected by the fracture. So they meet someone named Henna. Henna is wearing these heavy, heavy dark cloaks that basically do so well at covering her body, you can't even tell that she's a woman. Like, she's genderless with those cloaks on. You couldn't tell if she's a man or a woman. But then what her look is, she doesn't have a normal human head. Her head is that of the skull of a moose. And then one of her antlers is missing and the other one is where it should be. And then she has this long dark black hair growing from her skull. So that is how she's been affected by the fracture. Now, when she sees them, she immediately keys in on Tama's weapon. She approaches them and says, "Hey, your weapon was built by Valahorn, wasn't it?" And Tama's like, "How could you possibly know that?" And then so she reveals to the rest of the party that there's what is called 11 legendary forgers. It's these people that build legendary weapons, and one of them, named Valahorn, has built the weapon that Tama uses. Henna comes out and says she is a forger herself, and she is in the process of trying to become one of the legendary forgers. So Tama asks her, "Hey, can you upgrade my weapon?" And she says, "Yes, I can. What I need you to do is kill a giant snake, get its fangs, bring it back, and then I will upgrade your weapon for you." And Tama's like, "Cool, I can do that." So now Tama has, a little bit of he has his own side mission. But so the whole point of Henna is to set up stuff for the mid and end game. The 11 legendary forgers are important to the end game lore, stuff they'll need to know in order to defeat Taolia and save the planet. That's all she was there for. Oddly enough, no one really pressed Tama about who Valahorn was or what the forgers were. There wasn't a lot of questions there. Yeah, Tama didn't really have to explain that, and neither did I. But so the other thing was before she left, Oxalis was like, "Hey, is it possible for me to buy any weaponry you might have?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's possible. And what are you looking for?" And Oxalis is like, "Hey, I want like specialty arrows." And she's like, "Okay, I have these specialty arrows. I can't remember what they were, but let's explosive arrows or fire arrows or smoke arrows kind of thing." And instead of using money, he has these like small vials of ichor. Now, in the lore of the planet, there is these big ichor fields, and this is basically like liquid gold that's just black, and he's been carrying them. Now, the party has only been together for 2 nights, but both nights they had observed Oxalis drinking one of the vials. He drinks one vial pretty much per day. But so they didn't know what that was about, and then he used a couple of the vials to buy these arrows off of Hannah. And then so that encounter's done. So then they make it to the train, and Amicia is waiting for them. And this is where they meet Amicia for the first time. She's this person who's supposed to lead them to the knowledge that they're looking for. She has an understanding of where esoteric knowledge could be hidden. She has two different colored eyes. One of her eyes is gray, and the party picked up on that because Teolia in session one said not even the gray eyed girl is strong enough to kill me. So they're immediately like, is this the gray eyed girl? It's not. But they're suspicious of who she could possibly be. And then she's also wearing this large coat that's really covering her up. And it almost looks like she has a large, like, hunch, almost like a hunchback. She looks semi disfigured. Um, it's sad because some of the characters make fun of her, not to her face, but they think it's funny. No judgment, guys. But yeah, so she's like, "All right, if y'all are ready, let's get on the train and we'll leave." And then the party is like, "Yeah, we're ready. Let's get on the train and leave." And that is where session two ends with them getting on the train, ready to head towards Hyperion. This session went a lot smoother in my eyes than in session one. I feel like, you know, the only things, the only big mistakes I made in this they weren't truly mistakes, but it was just, again, more, don't be afraid to give out information. It's okay to tell the player stuff. They don't have to earn everything. Sometimes information can just be given for free. It helps so much with the quality of life for a campaign when the players aren't in the dark at every single moment. There are times when them being in the dark is needed and it works, but it's not every session. So that was, yeah, what I took away kind of reviewing my notes and everything is, again, man, I held back a lot of information that I could have just given for free. So sound off in the comments. Did you hear anything in my retelling that you're like, "Ooh, that was something he shouldn't have done"? If so, please let me know, post about it. You know, I want to hear what you have to say. Give me your feedback. And thank you as always for listening. I will see you in the next one.